34 years ago, how's it all started?
That's a very good question. How did it all start? Goodness me.
I met them in a service station on the M42.
Oh, it sounds like a lovely speed date.
It was.
In a service speed date.
And then one day I was out in the field and I was told to open the car door, and this guy walked out with a load of product, threw it in the back of my car and said, go back to your business that you work for and basically tell them that they're losing it.
For certain things, people actually bring a lot of manufacturing back to the UK. That I'm seeing a massive trend on that.
And the best thing ever for us was we got going, and our previous employer sent a letter out to every wholesaler saying don't deal with SWA. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Hi guys, Rich from Outsmart. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today we're actually over at our very good friends at SWA. I'm joined by the lovely Julie Banks, who is the sales director, and Brian Hans, who is?
I'm the lead director of SWA.
He's the lead director. Now, that's actually recently changed, but we'll come back onto that in a little bit.
Okay.
So for those who don't know about SWA, which obviously you do because you'll see them on our socials, absolutely loads, they make all different types of connectors, accessories for cables, and particularly the Storm Gland, which we're going to talk about because I absolutely love the Storm Gland. So the business has been on quite a journey for quite a number of years.
34 years.
34 years. However, it's just come through some huge changes, which we'll come on to shortly. So 34 years ago, how's it all started?
That's a very good question. How did it all start? Goodness me. Well, I was working with Gary Ray. A lot of people in the industry would know Gary in the wholesale industry. Gary was my boss at the time. Well, I hate to say that word, but yeah, he was my boss. He was known as probably one of the best salesmen in the industry at that particular time. I worked alongside Gary for a period of time, probably 2 or 3 years. The company we were working for at that time weren't doing particularly well. We were really working hard. I think there was a sales force of about 18 of us. And then one day I was out in the field and I was told to open the car door, and this guy walked out with a load of product, threw it in the back of my car and said, go back to your business that you work for and basically tell them that they're losing it, which we knew at that particular time. And then we were approached by some suppliers to that particular company who said, look, we're not happy. I certainly wasn't happy. I drove all the way down to a major town in the UK. I won't disclose that town, but the rule with that company at that time was you never, ever come back into the business during the course of a working week. It was a Wednesday. It was rainy. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I got 2 young kids and a wife, and you basically think, I'm going nowhere here. Gary, I loved him to bits. We got on extremely well. And I arrived at that location and drove into the car park, and Gary was actually there with another guy, director. And I looked, it was a porta cabin I parked underneath, and I came out and said, what the hell are you doing here? And I said, I've had enough. I said, this is crazy. I could do better on my own. And it was a case that they both looked at each other and said, meet us after work. I said, pardon? Meet us after work. Meet us in the pub next door. And that was the start of the journey. I went to the pub next door after work, and it was a case of, look, we're going to have a go on our own. Do you want to be in on it? And I said, if I'm in on it, I want, an equal share of it. And
Driving mad front first bag, and that's it.
Yeah,
You got to set your stall out.
Got to set your stall out. And it was based of, I drove home that night, told my wife, look, I need to put the house on the line, and that was history. That was 35 years ago. The 2 companies that were unhappy with our current sort of employer were good brands, and they said, look, we'll support you as well. So we just went on from there, and the business kicked off purely with pre-insulated terminals, copper tube terminals, and joint kits, and that's how the journey started. And the best thing ever for us was we got going, And our previous employer sent a letter out to every wholesaler saying, "Don't deal with SWA. There's no such thing as bad publicity." And from that,
believe me, I know that.
and from that day on, we just took off. And it was a case then of just growing the business step by step. And like every business, you've got to have good financial backing for one, and good financial controls. And we managed to just grow the business. And then we realised as we went through, especially in the early years, that what you got to do is bring quality to the industry, and that's what we've always focused on. We're never going to be the most what's the word? I hate using the word cheapest because that is a horrible word, but we're not at the bottom end of the market. We don't want to be in that area. It's bringing quality and innovation to the marketplace, and that's what hopefully we've achieved over the years.
No, absolutely, without a doubt. And again, you are, because my background was I was an electrician before I moved into the industry I'm now, and ultimately spent my days riding around doing podcasts. I do actually have a trade, and even as an electrician, we used to just use the SWA products all the time. Again, they're in the counters in most wholesalers, probably a lot you're doing, and we've been involved in a lot of that. But yeah, quality, you know what you're getting with it, and it's a quality product.
It is,
and then obviously fast forward to where we are now, 34 years later, and we'll patch back into some of that story. And you've got products like your Storm Gland. You've still got all the products you originally started with.
Absolutely.
You've still got 34 years later those core products.
Absolutely. I think one of the big steps that we made as a business is probably around about 8 years ago, when you start to realise that your product is making its way into large construction sites, and it's being used in areas where quality is fundamental. And as a business, I got called in to a situation where our lugs were being fitted onto an MOD site. Basically, competition turned around and said that SWA conforms to BS4G178, BS4579, and various other BS specs, but we weren't quite up to date with BS61238 A and B. And at that point, you think, well, what's it going to cost us to get to that level? It cost the business £250,000. But we took all our lugs out to, unfortunately, we couldn't have everything tested here in the UK. We had to go out to Holland, but every lug, every terminal was terminated here in the UK, sent over there, and short circuit tested, heat tested to the 9th degree. So basically, it was a case that at the end of it, which was 8-9 months, we came out of it with flying colours. And basically, I went back to the major contractors and said, right, we've got the specification you're looking for. And it was a case that, okay, we're sort of specify you. So now we're specified by 2 of the major contractors in the UK, which is really done as well. But that was a learning curve for us. It's all well and good bringing innovation to the market, but you've also got to attain the standards and get to the standards and back it up 100%. So that's where we are as a business now, where everything we push to market, we make sure is fully to specification.
And that's a crazy amount of investment, £250,000.
Yeah.
And that ultimately was a bit of a punt. There's no guaranteed sales coming back from that.
Absolutely.
That is, they want to see these kind of standards.
Yeah.
Let's go above and beyond, get the standards and get it specified.
I think it's a case now in the UK where with fires that are happening every day, there are 12 fires in the UK, and those 12 fires, 80% of them are caused by a faulty connection.
Well, they do say, and this rings in my ears every time I work with wires from electricians day, loose wires cause fires.
Absolutely, 100%.
You need to make sure you've got a good
phrase, actually.
There we go. Obviously, you don't get loose wires when we're using SWA connections, obviously. So that's not an issue. So obviously, fast forward to where we are 34 years later.
Yeah.
We've got this lovely lady sat to the side of us here, Julie. I'm bringing you in now. Sorry.
That's quite all right. I don't mind.
How did you come on board with this? Because obviously I used SWA before, but we met via an event, and we've kept regular contact, to be fair, ever since.
Yeah, we have, because I think we share similar values, I think. And that in particular is really associated with my journey with SWA, because I joined in 2019. And I'd worked previously for a long time for a very large organisation, one of the biggest cable manufacturers in the world. And it was a fantastic journey. But coming out of that business, it was really important to me to go back to kind of grassroots almost. And I actually put it out into the marketplace and was helped by a couple of friends to find Garrett and Brian and the SWA business. And the two of us were put together because what I was looking for was to go back to work for a small private business, but that was still very much involved in the electrical wholesale market. And we were put together. I met them in a service station on the M42.
Oh, it sounds like a lovely speed date.
It was.
A service speed date.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I turned up one day, come for this interview, which was really just a meeting of minds. And Brian said to me, you know, how do we sell SWA to you? And I remember turning to you and saying, well, isn't it me that needs to sell myself to you? And he said, no, it's not. And do you know what? That very moment, I thought, this is right. I can tell this is right already. And I joined the business, and I came in, and I like to put it that I came into SWA at the time as national sales manager. And about 6 months later, I took over the responsibilities of the marketing side as well, with Brian and Gary's blessing. But at the time, I came in and they were very clear about what they wanted me to do. It was really to bring some of the good stuff from a corporate background, leave all the rubbish stuff behind, but bring the good stuff into this really fantastic foundation where, as Brian says, innovation is absolutely key to the success of SWA and also the quality of the products. And for me, what was really important was looking at the SWA business. What am I joining? So these guys seem really great. I get on fantastic. But then I went away and I did my research and I looked at what they stand for. And I say, is it fit for purpose? Is the product fit for purpose? Is it compliant?
Definitely so. I don't know if you know, but they've actually got some really special regulations. They've got special testing, haven't they?
Yes.
Definitely compliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just not about, is it compliant? Is it fit for purpose? And is it of a quality that I want to put into my environment? And so it ticked all those boxes. And I thought, yeah, this is the company that I want to join. And in doing so, I inherited a fantastic team of individuals. We've got actually now, if we talk about customer facing, we've got 13 people out there across England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all customer facing, in all different positions. So it's not just sales positions. We've got project and specification. We've got Liam Froud, who's our marketing, who actually gets out there in the field with customers, really trying to understand what it is that they need. And yeah, it's pretty cool company to work for, to be quite honest.
It's a good mix. Very good mix.
One of the things I really noticed as I walked around earlier is when Liam was taking me around, is that even he knew everybody. So as we were going around, it wasn't just it was literally everybody. As we were nipping around, we did like a whistle top tour around everywhere, and yeah, as we bumped into everybody, it was not hi, it was a first name term basis really throughout it.
It's a good team, a very good team.
There's quite a few. How many are in the business now?
There are 61 of us in the business at this moment in time. So yeah, it's grown fundamentally. But I think just going back to Julie there, the business has got to a point where we've got the right products, we've got all the quality, the innovation coming through, but we need people to come into the business that were better than Gary and myself. We started off with Julie, and then Julie then brought Daniel in and various other people. So if you want to grow your business, you've got to make sure that you bring people in that are better than yourself.
People that are better than you.
And bring you more ideas.
Well, I don't know about that, Brian.
Yeah, look at this. And younger than us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I was really pleased that they just were themselves with me and that actually they didn't try to be something that they're not. And that's what's really authentic about SWA, is that the people here are genuine.
It's down to earth.
Yeah, down to earth. And yeah, we trip up. We don't get everything right first time. We're not perfect. We're not HR competent. You know, it's like it's just one of them things, but it works for us. And what we do is we always try as a business to be respectful to each other. Well, actually, we don't try. We are respectful to each other, and we treat each other with respect all the time, don't we?
Yeah, it's a good team.
But also on the flip side of that, not on the flip side, but running parallel to that, you have a laugh.
Oh, all the time.
And that for me is an important part of it. I know.
It's non-stop.
You're snickering over there like a little schoolboy.
Yeah, it's non-stop, and it still continues today, even though Gary's not here.
Literally today, Julie came into the lunchroom before, and she was like, "Oh, he's been at it again." And just playing practical jokes on each other all the time.
Yeah, but as we move into the corporate world, hopefully we don't lose that, and we continue with it. We have to. And as a business, you know, you move through the growth stages of the business, and we talk about innovation. We've brought innovative products to the business, and they failed. You know, and you sort of you lick your wounds and you pick yourself up and you move on again. I won't say it's one big party. No, that's going a bit too far.
No, it is one. It is one big party, but we do work hard.
Play hard. That is the 100% best ethos.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with the situation that we're in now, part of the Shoal Group stroke diploma. We're still. My role is to bring more innovation into the business across the group, which I'm looking forward to. It's good. So watch this space, basically.
I know. So you've just dropped that one. We built up. Yes, I'll let you have it. So, and then this is what I mentioned this to you guys earlier about why I'm actually loving doing this podcast, because basically what it means is I get to go out, meet my favourite businesses, get to meet maybe some of the people behind the business that I've never met before, and get to kind of build a more stronger relationship with you. Now, I've got 3 businesses that sit in my top 10, because you're in my top 10. You're number 8.
Great.
You're sitting in my top 10. Yeah. Sit in my top 10. But that was FS Cables, Cablecraft, and yourself. Now, over the last couple of years, and people might have heard this already because obviously done podcasts with them all, but there's a company called Shoal Group, which is owned by Diploma PLC, who basically bought and acquired FS Cables. Then I bought and acquired Cablecraft, and then last year you finalised the deal and they've bought yourselves.
Yeah.
Congratulations, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because 34 years of hard work, which started as actually, right, we have to do this. You know, it's not like...
the business was not for sale.
Yeah.
It's simple. You know, Gary and I got this idea we were going to take this business further and further. And Gary maybe stepped back, and that's why Julie came in. And I'd work closely with Julie and just keep moving the business forward. But people look at Company House and they see the age of directors and the offers come in, and we just bounce them up to the auditors and said, look, take a look at this. And I came back and said, look, you need to talk to Diploma, you need to talk to Shoal Group. This could be really interesting for you. And one thing we wanted to make sure that the business would be successful within the group, left alone to a degree. A great future for the people that work here. And they guaranteed that. And so far, so good. You know, 8 months in, it's brilliant.
And I've actually been seeing it firsthand, though, because and obviously you listen it firsthand, but I've also seen it how each business, and I think it's just strengthened you all, because each business still is the business in its own right.
Yeah.
It still does its own thing. It still goes about its day-to-day operations, albeit ever so slightly differently. You're still your own business in your own right, but you're working together. So if anything, you just strengthened your portfolio, A, of products, and B, of people. That's how I see it from an outsider.
We need to send you out into the marketplace for you to actually say that over and over again.
Don't need to, just recorded it.
That's
you can clip that. You can clip that.
That's exactly it. And
no, but just to clarify, we do these podcasts, absolutely nothing is scripted. Was there? Because there's no questions, there's no scripting. I said that it's just let's sit down and have a chat. And the beauty is, because I'm aware of the businesses, albeit every time I go out to see somebody, I learn something new or meet somebody new, but I'm aware of them. So, and then all I'm doing here is we fill the gaps.
Yeah, but I think it's, you know, you could easily think that kind of the Shoal Group had kind of almost like prepped all this because I didn't know actually, before you went to FS and Cablecraft, that you were actually familiar with those guys. We just thought you were familiar with us through the channel, through the wholesale channel. And actually, to find out that you've got this real understanding of the Shoal Group through kind of the engagement that you've had and seeing them guys.
Completely accidentally.
Accidentally.
There hasn't been. I'm not an inside guy for the Shoal Group. I actually own the Shoal Group. No, I don't really. Wish I did. Won't be sat here if I did. But no, because FS Cables is rainbow spaghetti. So the colour coded cable and the data cables and everything we use on our projects and the colour coding cabling system we're renowned for almost.
Yeah.
Like if you see those cables, you know it's one of our jobs.
Yeah.
Or someone copying us. But we've got that, and then ultimately to terminate those cables, we then used Cablecraft and yourselves.
Yeah.
That just what is what it was.
Yeah, and you can see from that why Shoal have looked at SWA.
They've been clever.
They've been really
very clever.
Yeah.
But because again, the way the ethos of our business again comes from what you've been trying to do with your products is we don't fit cheap stuff. We're not necessarily price driven. We want the best for our customers.
Yeah.
You know, the best for our installers to use. It's not about what's the cheapest necessarily. It's about what's the best. Ultimately, what is going to be because I'm a boss, yeah. So, like, I employ people, I employ installers. We cost projects. So a lot of people just see what's the direct cost of material. I look at what's the installation time of that material.
Yeah.
What's going to be the callback cost to me if that material fails? You know. And the main one, it's just been sat in the corner of my eye this whole time that we've done this, and probably the backdrop of the podcast, the Storm Gland.
Yeah.
Which, let's not lie, for in the electrical industry, is literally, I would probably say, one of the biggest innovations ever. Basically, I don't want to say reinvented the wheel, but reinvented the wheel.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was your doing.
And there's more to come with the Storm.
So I'm actually going to do a little bit of a rewind, though. I'm going to go back to the beginning of this. So, again, the Storm Gland, for people that haven't seen it before, living under a rock, clearly not following our Instagram. And again, for me being an electrician, I've fitted glands for years and years and years and years. So a gland is used for terminating the end of an armoured cable. For break it down for somebody who doesn't know at all, for terminating the end of an armoured cable. And what you've basically done with that, traditionally with a gland, we're going to have, and these guys will insert a little infographic here, we're going to have the shroud. We're then going to have, if it was a weatherproof gland, we're going to have the back nut, the middle nut, then the front nut, which is then going to terminate in with a 20mm lock nut, which get thinner and thinner and thinner as the years go on, and they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And then that's it. We then have a banjo on it, which needs to create an earthing path. Throw it in the bin. What we've done with that is we've redesigned it almost into all one part, kind of a little bit like the stuffing gland principle.
Yeah. Yes.
But within a gland, which again, it does come into different parts. But when you get really good with them, you don't even need to open it up. Few cracks, spin it, lock it in.
You're the expert.
That's when you've done one or two.
Yes.
When you've done one or two, you can do that. But basically, you've reinvented the wheel.
Yes.
Differences, and I mean, they might come down and cost a little bit more, but just as a rough figures, £5 for a normal, sales director's about to correct me. £5 for a normal gland, £15 for a Storm Gland. Give or take.
Give or take.
Give or take. Maybe a bit cheaper now.
Yeah.
But the difference is, those are IP68, the terminations are rock solid, and they're a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that really thin, flimsy, crappy nut that came in it. We do a couple of different versions depending on what SKU you buy. But within those, you've got a locky nut, which is the piranha nut, isn't it? It's a piranha nut, which is chunky as hell, and it's got the earthy nut on the side, so you don't need to mess about with banjo and penetrate the casing.
Correct.
Yeah. One of our engineers refers to it as the gland for the van. Because multi-purpose, different types of cable, and that again, in terms of just being able to go in, pick it up from the wholesaler, you can have them in the back of the van, and when you have got an emergency, you've got a gland to go to. So that in itself,
emergency. There are go-to gland, Julie. We don't use any other glands anymore because the fact of the matter is, not even just that, they look good. I know that sounds quite daft because it's a cable gland, but they look good. And you've not got when Sparky's cut the shroud too big and he's put a bit of tape on the end of it. He's made it off wrong. It just looks nice as far as a gland. They install fast. They're IP68. For me, like I said before, I'm looking at callbacks. I'm looking at if water penetrates this gland, predominantly with what we do smart homes, home cinemas, luxury homes and large outdoor lighting schemes. That's our main bread and butter work. So with an outdoor lighting, I hate doing outdoor lighting. Hate it. Because traditionally, you're going to get some penetration somewhere. Water's going to track down the back of your gland.
Mm.
And literally, since we've been using those, no problems.
Oh,
Ever.
that's good. Yeah.
Those magic gel, good to go. And I love the fact, from an installer's point of view, in the bag, you don't just get the gland, you get everything you need, but then you even get all the crimps.
Yeah, you do.
Do you know what I mean? You don't even need to, like you say, you just go grab the bag, done.
Yeah.
Like Julie said, go grab the bag. Don't need to then go grab a crimps tray.
Yeah.
You got everything you need in one bag.
Yeah. There's, dare I say it, but you're not even going to need that fairly soon, because the earthing knot is being, how do I put this the earthing knot is being redesigned.
Mhm.
So there's a new version of the earthing knot that's about to be launched in probably around about September, October time. So yeah, it'd be great to have you on board. We'll get some samples to you. You try them, see what you think.
Yeah.
Give us some feedback before we actually go into major production. So we are working with, I think, 6 major contractors at the moment who have helped. We sort of bring them into the boardroom here on Teams, and then we send them out the samples of the new earthing nut, and they give us their feedback. We're at a point now where we're just going to pre-production, so we'll grab some and get some out to you.
Actually, Brian, I think the last year's very, very confidential working group that took place in SWA, that actually a representative of Art of Smart was part of that committee.
Yeah, no, you tried to get me, but I was too busy, so we had one of our guys.
One of your guys joined.
Yeah.
And that kind of panel of people sat there with Dan Colborne, our project and specification manager, and worked through the design of products that particular product come into market, and then we went away and gave the feedback to our manufacturers. So it's you've helped. Actually, our experience and our relationship with you goes way beyond just supplying you with the Storm Gland. Actually. But of course, we love the fact that we're part of the Storm Gland revolution, as we call it.
Yeah, but it is. The fact of the matter is, since we started using them, and we'd met you in an event, and then at the time the wholesalers didn't do them, because the Storm what, because this is when they first come out. They didn't know about them because you was always on the trade show circuit, getting them out there, and then now most wholesalers are going, now we'll stock them. Well,
a lot of that came from our conversation, because if I take us back, actually, then we had a call, and I remember us having that discussion about walking into a trade counter, and it's interesting bit for me, this bit of a rant here on my side, is that sometimes you go into a trade counter as a user and you go in there and you say, have you got this? You know exactly what it is that you want. You know what you want, and you go in there and being confronted with, well, actually, I don't stock that, or I don't know what that is, or actually, I can't give you that, but I'll give you something else. And you walk away from that situation and say, well, no, that's not what I wanted. Versus your experience of going in and saying, I would like the Storm Gland. You knew what it was, and being told, I think if I recall correctly, we don't actually stock it, but we know who it comes from, so we can get it for you.
Yeah, no, we told them, and then they got it for us, and then now they stock it. We're quite lucky about wholesalers, is that if we tell them something, they'll generally stock it. But then again, because then the Storm Gland generally started gathering momentum, because probably through, I'd imagine, things like social media. So I remember when we first started fitting them on, because obviously, like, it's not being around the bush. We post 1 or 2 things on Instagram,
just a bit,
and social media in general. And because people were seeing, and like I used to, we actually got to a point where I stopped posting about them a little bit, because every time I post that we're doing one, I'm like, what my messages on? I've been replying to messages for a day. Oh, it's the Storm Gland, it's the Storm Gland. And then we actually did a piece together, didn't we? In Professional Electrician magazine.
We did.
And yeah, we kind of endorsed it for you in there as well, because it's easy for me. I won't ever do anything. We don't ever do paid ads, anything like that. I will only ever endorse products / businesses / people I actually like, So that's what it's about with you yourself, SWA and the Storm Gland. I love it, and it's a great product. I won't ever put my name around anything that's pants. So yeah, good product.
Can I ask a question? How did you come across Storm in the first place?
Henry is in the room listening.
Yeah, it was a trade show, wasn't it? Yeah, City Trade Show at Cheltenham. Was it an eFix event? Yeah, probably the eFix event, and Yeah, when we're doing the live feed events.
Yes.
Because I was like one of the like guest speakers at those events talking about smart homes and inspiring electricians into the industry.
Ah, okay.
But then after we used to go around again because of this whole everyone, because we post a lot on social, and obviously our captive audience naturally is electricians for the most part. So then when we're going around, we go around to see all the manufacturers of all the products and stuff, and we'd maybe release a co-product. Say, I think on that actual same night, actually we launched something with Super Rod and Klein.
Okay.
We'd launched a product with those guys. And then I remember I met you for the first time at that event there. You're like, oh, these are our new glands. And I was like, here, take a box. And then I took a box. I was like, Jesus Christ, these are amazing. But then I looked at the price and was like, geez, they're expensive. But then we started using them anyway because we had a box of freebies. But we did actually use them anyway. And then we're like, I ain't ever going back.
Yeah.
It's a point now where like we order them like 100 at a time. I think we've just done a re-up this week and just 100 of each SKU. Well, again, because we're not doing huge armors, we mainly do, 20Ss, 20s, 25s, mainly outdoor lighting and submains.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bit bigger than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done the range up to 65
63.
mil?
63
mil
now.
now. So it's up to 60.
Yeah.
Because originally, you literally had the range I buy there, 20, 20, 25.
Yeah.
Then you had it 32.
And they're right the way
40,
through.
then it was-
Yeah. Right
Well,
way through.
the increasing of the range was as a direct result of market feedback from people like yourself. It was, look, why don't you do this in bigger sizes?
Do I know how much all that tooling's going to cost me?
Yeah. But it is, and it's a case of, the price. Hopefully, it's an expensive item to manufacture, but it's all down to volume. So as the volume starts, and every month now, it's just growing. And I think you're right. Once an engineer uses it, it's a bit like the earthing nut. Once an engineer uses an earthing nut, they don't want to use a banjo and a lot nut. And Storm is the same. Once an engineer uses Storm, they just want to continue using Storm.
Well, Storm was launched in 2019. And it now, as a growing business, so we're actually turning over more than we were in 2019. But Storm now sits in our top 10 products. So it is absolutely, when we say, and I say it again, the gland revolution, it really is. And that's why actually, just on that point, as I know you're really kind of into kind of the training mentality as well in terms of giving back. And we too, we're CPD accredited. So we've got training modules across a number of our products. And one of those training modules is called the Gland Revolution. And we particularly put that together because if you go into kind of colleges, they haven't necessarily come across a Storm Gland. Because it's a relatively new product to the market. So actually, we built a module that not just trains about Storm, about all glands, but actually we've called it the Gland Revolution.
Yeah, covering every aspect of glanding. Yeah, but obviously with the CPD, you can't promote the SWA brand. But we bring
customer. And you said the training, because obviously we've got our like in-house training academy, so we get loads of electricians. I mean, back from probably 2019, 2020 really it was when it kicked off. When that was your COVID, it wasn't 20. Yeah, definitely, it definitely was 2020. So yeah, we literally trained eight guys every other week for about a year. So we've now got a national network of partners, smart partners of about 180 off the top of my head, electricians all around the country that work alongside us. So that generally those electricians are like the best of the best. But so how it kind of works in our projects is we design it, we specify it, and we actually handle procurement and supply chain on our projects. So rather than these guys, when they're working on one of these luxury house projects with us, them going, all right, yeah, so we need to do this, and them being in charge of supplying the bill of materials themselves, and them thinking, I'm going to save a few quid here. I'm going to save a few quid here. I'm going to get these. We supply our materials, and like these materials, they have to fit. But also, I had the guys on training. You've got general chit chat during the week and stuff. And because we've got a fuse board at the back of the room, a distribution board, which has an arm glanded into it, right next to the drinks fridge. Not product placement, just is where it is. But because people are like, oh, what's glands you've got on there? Guys that have never seen it before.
Yes,
right.
Yes, yeah.
So
Interesting.
So then they see it then and be like, oh, I'll go get one from stores and have a play with it. And yeah.
So that's it, isn't it? Once you've kind of like messed around with it.
Once you've seen it,
you've
get
seen
the principle of it, you're like,
yeah.
I've been in trade counters And I have this kind of thing that I do in electrical wholesalers when I go out with the guys. And a recent visit, I went out with Eddie up north, one of our sales engineers. And there was a lad on the trade counter and the wholesaler, and he could hear him like earwigging, listening to what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Storm Glands. I do this thing where I slide the sample Storm Gland across, because a lot of people just don't want to turn around to me. I don't know, I'm scary or something, but they don't want to turn around and say, what's that? What have you got? So I just literally slide it across the tray counter and say, take a look at that. Storm Gland. You've not seen it before. Are you crazy? Why have you not seen it?
And I think that's really cool, Julie, just to sidetrack completely from Storm Gland. But obviously, with you, and you doing a lot to actually help and change this, but you being a female in a predominantly male industry, but it not just being a job career, something you've fallen into, something that you can just tell, even just talking to you about stuff anyway, that you are really passionate about.
Yeah, I love it. This wasn't my first job. I started in fashion and in marketing when I left school, and I was a YTS girl. I didn't do a degree until I was 40. I went back to uni to do a business degree, mainly because in the business that I worked in at the time, you needed a degree to be able to kind of sit on a management team.
Yeah.
And I've worked within the electrical industry. I was around about 22, I think, and I just fell into it. In fact, at my interview, said HR, be aware, careful. At my interview, they said to me, what makes you think that you can sell cable? And I said, well, if I can sell PVC jackets, I can sell PVC cable. And that was what I actually said. And the guy just looked at me and he said to me afterwards, that's why you got the job. Just that one line was absolutely fantastic. So I started in the industry, didn't think I was going to stay in the industry. And X amount of years later.
Surely can't be more than 10.
It's not 11. It's 11. I've just loved every moment. And yes, I'm not going to deny it. There are times when, as a female, it's pushed uphill, and it's a lot different now to when I started. And I can remember going to industry events where there were 500 plus people in a room, and I was one of maybe 5, 6 women. And what you did tend to find, though, and I will say this, I'm really glad you've raised this question, because what I found was that those 500 plus blokes, men, actually wanted to see more women in the industry. And that the biggest challenge that we've got as an industry is actually just right at the beginning, at the school, at the university, at the apprenticeship level, is actually engaging with females and getting them to apply. Because I think once you get into the industry, you can see that it's a really fantastic place to be. And I have loved every single moment of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so much so, and that's why I brought this up, leading into this, Julie, so much so that outside of work, voluntary, unpaid, because you want to, for the greater good.
Yeah,
what are you doing? What are you doing outside of work?
I've kind of done some work with a couple of schools, and I'm doing some work coming up with actually a private girls' school, which is going to be just talking as a kind of careers advisor and doing some little speed dating exercises where they come and they sit down and talk to you for a while about the electrical industry. And there will be other people there as well, but absolutely am passionate about giving that back, and the more we can do of that, about that as an industry, I think the better. Any opportunity that I get really to talk to people about this industry, particularly young females, is I'm interested in doing. I don't want to leave this industry in years to come and walk away from it saying I didn't try to change.
You've done a bit.
Yeah, to do a bit. Yeah. And other people will do more and some will do less. And like you say, I'm just doing my bit.
Just doing what you can do your bit.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. You're doing something which is more than most.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Brighton, how about yourself then? 34 years later, and you can just tell just talking to you about your products and your business and stuff, you are still so passionate about what you do. What's the secret? What's the secret to 34 years later to still love it?
Still feel as though I'm 21.
Yeah.
No, I just the success just keep driving it forward. Love to see the SWA brand out there, and yeah, it's just within you. It's part of me.
That's great.
Yeah. It's I don't know, just it's my life. Simple as. And okay, it's part of a bigger organisation now, but to see it succeed and grow, it's just my passion for it to happen.
It is, and what you could have done, because with the nature of our business and our clientele, we've got a lot of clients that have sold businesses. Some missed them for years, some missed them for 5 years, but you've obviously sold the business, and as part of that, I've stayed on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you've done, rather than ultimately still driving force, but ultimately, Final Book doesn't lie with you now, but you've stayed on to innovate the product line.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And to take products across the group, which is what I'm passionate about. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as I said before, there's some good things to come from SWA.
Well,
there really is.
We might censor this, we might not. What have we got over there? What was I playing with before? I'll hide the back. I'll hide the back.
Yeah, you've got a situation where we've got a new earthing nut that's coming through, and it's groundbreaking. It really is. Patent applied for, and the tooling's just all being put together now as we speak. And samples are pre-production samples being made, and samples will be dished out to you included, and we'll get the feedback. And if it all looks good, then bang away we go.
Yeah.
So I think this will take the market by storm.
Oof.
Sorry. I do apologise. Sorry about that one.
So no, that was there. That was actually there. An absolute straight prototyping. They were prototypes, weren't they, that we've had there? The pre-manufacturer.
You've got one.
Well, the other one was. You only showed one there. There's
another one which I can't show because we're just waiting for the.
We can't show that one, but. We've seen them both. We've seen them both.
The patent attorneys are working on that one. So yeah, it's all good. And remember, all this started off from the SmartFit gland. The SmartFit gland was the product that we brought to the market. That went off with success, and then we thought, well, how can we improve on the SmartFit? And then Storm evolved from there, and then the new earthing nut, and then another earthing nut, and we just keep moving it forward. But I really I think that bringing these two earth nuts together now, we'll hit the market hard, and it'll be a real success for the business going forward.
Happy days. So we've discussed Storm there a lot and talked about it a lot, but Julie, 8,500 products. Start from the top. Let's name them. No, I'm just kidding. I don't need. No, I want part codes, please. Let Henry know more. I'm joking. But
I would need Henry for this.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's talk families of products.
Yeah. So I think obviously we're as a cable accessories provider, we've got the main thing that people think about is cable ties, and yes. If anybody's thinking, I do use our cable ties to hold up my plants on the front window. But yeah, cable ties is kind of the first thing that people think about. But actually, if you think about glands and you put all our glands together, because we've pretty much got a gland for everything. Then
stuffing glands, arming glands,
and then we've got obviously the innovative kind of SmartFit and Storm, as we've mentioned. So you've got a massive gland range there, which would then make that kind of our biggest product range. And then you've got things like the things that were less kind of prominent in the range, because you think about cable ties and you think about glands, but then you think about heat shrink, you think about joint kits, you think about more recent products such as PVC sleeving and cable markers, which actually with our association with Shoal that we talked about earlier, these products are things that we've been able to bring into the SWA range to offer to our customers. So it's kind of like really expanding on something that we've already got in those 8,500 products.
Can I just interrupt there? Sorry to interrupt, but most importantly, made in the UK.
It is. Yes, thank you.
If you didn't interrupt, I was about to interrupt, because another one of Shoal's businesses is Birch Valley Plastics, based down in Plymouth. And actually, we're going there week after next.
Oh, brilliant. Good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That one, I actually didn't know Birch Valley. Because you wouldn't, because it's a supplier to a manufacturer. Yeah. But when we was down at the FS Cables Day, speaking to Dan, and Dan was like, "You know all this made in the UK, don't you?" I was like, "Nah. No way you're making nylon braiding, PVC shrink and heat shrink in the UK. It just can't get made in China, done it?" And it's like, "Nah. It's actually made down in Plymouth. We've got a beautiful factory by the sea. and all this production line. One thing we use a lot in our lighting panels is the identification markers.
Okay. Yeah.
The idents.
Yes.
And they've got a production line, new line that's just gone in.
Yeah.
Where it goes in at one end as raw pellets and it comes out the other end bagged and packaged.
Correct.
We're looking forward to that day, aren't we, boys? I'm actually down there on a project, so we're taking a couple of our installers with us as well, just as a bit of a little factory tour. They're going to come for a day out as well. So
that'd be good.
Yeah,
That'll be
made
really
down in
good.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
But one of the funny things is I've learned about manufacturing whilst I've been doing this podcast is because of things like because of COVID, container prices, etc., which obviously have impacts on our businesses. But for certain things, people actually bring a lot of manufacturing back to the UK. That I'm seeing a massive trend on that. Whereas before it'd be easier to get it made in China. A lot of stuff is actually coming back because it's actually cheaper to get it done in the UK now when you factor a container into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, for us, historically, quite a lot of our product is not made in China. Historically, has not been made in China. But just going back to your question about, the product ranges. So pretty much, when we talk about specialised wiring accessories, and we said SWA right at the beginning of our chat, we're not selling the cable, but we're selling everything that's associated, everything but the cable. And that can go, from the lugs to the glands to actually pre-ins. And then you think about some of the bigger kind of high ticket items like a massive tooling range. So we've got a big calibration and tooling repair centre.
It's in the tooling room, yeah.
Yeah. And
the spare parts in there.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
And the organisation, I had to say, when I walk in there, I was like, wow, does he polish this every night before he goes home? Looks like it.
Yeah,
Takes a lot of pride in his room.
Yes, he does. And that's a service that we offer. So from a tooling perspective, we've got a big tooling offer that also is supported by hiring tools, recalibrating, repair. So that side of the business as well is quite good for us. And then, of course, going back to kind of some of the other products. So with, anything from aerosols to cleats, which come under our BICC components range.
That's an interesting one. Cleats, as I mentioned earlier on, with the copper tube terminals and getting them tested to the standard, BS61238. And I'll never forget the day on the train coming back from Holland back to the UK. And basically it was a phone call that came in from a major contractor, and it was a case of, Brian, okay, we understand that the lugs are all done and tested great. He said, I need to ask another favour. What's that? I said, and literally, I'm literally on the train crossing the border, and it was a case of, well, we've just fitted a load of cleats, aluminium cleats, to a new office building in London, and the QS guy's gone in, the inspectors have gone in and asked for documentation on the cleats, and we can't get one. And we've gone back to the distributor. We've asked, where's the specification sheets? We haven't got one. Gone back to the manufacturer. Well, no, there's no need. We've manufactured these for years. We never had to supply one. And basically, it was a case, Brian, you need to get your cleats tested to BS61914, 2016. And what will that do for us? Well, basically, we're in a situation where any project that we go on now, we have to prove to the insurance company to start the project that we've got full traceability on the majority of the products, and cleats are holding cables together. And we're stuffed. We need it. Can you do it? So again, back to the boardroom, and we need to invest. And 8 months later, all our SWA BICC cleats are to the standard. So we are launching more and more in the range of cleats, but cleats is now climbing the ladder. As we mentioned, Storm is now in the top 10. Cleats are climbing that ladder as well now. Cleats are doing very well for us. Yeah.
I think when we talk about, that kind of, that process that SWA went through, I again, passionate coming through. For me, that all links to when you're in your house and you're looking at your environment, there's all the things that you can see, isn't there? And you look at your twin socket and you can see that on the wall, can't you? You can switch it on, and if it looks a bit dodgy, then you think, oh, I've got a bit of a problem here. But it's a lot of what we do is behind that socket. It's hidden. And there's a lot of emphasis in the industry, in the electrical industry right now about traceability, about compliance and things that are fit for purpose. And I think everybody, kind of the general public, can see that because of some of the things that have happened in the UK in recent years, fires and accidents that have happened as a result of product. And for me, there's this emphasis on, they call it the single thread of truth, don't they, Brian? And what that means is that when a product is, designed, made right at the beginning, when it of its original state, that when it gets to the end of its journey, actually, when it's installed, is there a single thread of truth with that product? And when it's made, the part number that it's given, does that part number stay within its journey? So yes, there might be different part numbers associated with it, but it always traces back to that single thread of truth. And that continues right to the point. And the things that break that thread, what are the things that break that thread? Things that break that thread are when people say, well, I want that particular part number, and then they're sold a different part number and it's a different product. It might be recognized as the same kind of product. It could even be the same type of product, but it's actually different because it might be, take a lug, for example. A simple lug could be a Class A lug or a Class B lug. And if, as a contractor, you're specified to put a Class A lug in, you could be sold a lug, but it's a Class B. And why is that important? That's so important because actually that's where the risk of substandard product comes into play. And when it's my house and it's behind that socket, I want to know that what's going in there is from a single thread of truth. So we're really passionate about stuff like that because ultimately these products go into our kind of home environments, and that's why we're pretty passionate about compliance and why we work with some of the contractors to make sure that we're meeting the approvals and the standards that they're asking for.
Yeah, and absolutely above and beyond.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, you get the standard, you get the approval, you go to market, and you say, right, we have all the Class A, stroke Class B with the lugs. Your contractor orders SWA from a wholesaler, but the wholesaler passes on a different product. And we then had to get on a journey to make sure that our product got to the engineer. So every lug that leaves SWA goes out in a sealed bag.
Mm-hmm.
And that bag also now environmentally, we have to make sure that it's made of potato mash and it's biodegradable and everything else. But that's another journey we're on in packaging. But basically, we have to ensure that every product leaves here is in a sealed bag, especially on copper strip. Where there's a specification involved, you've got to make sure that product gets to the engineer in a sealed bag so he knows it's from SWA. But actually on the product, we actually got stamped on there for traceability. But it's making sure that the engineer gets what he's been asking for.
It's not just the engineer, is it? It's you as a person in your house. If you, for me, because I work in the industry, I can remember having some work done. I had an apartment, a lock up and go apartment, and I had some rewiring done. And the guy came and he turned up and he had a reel of Twin and Earth. Now, okay, I'm lucky. The first thing I did was pick his reel of Twin and Earth up.
I bet he didn't know what was happening.
He just looked at me and I said, well, I'm not having that in my house.
No basic.
No basic approved. No basic. What is?
And I bet he didn't even know. I thought he was getting stitched up on TV when he had you picking up the drummer cable, checking for basic stamps.
Exactly. Basic being a third-party approval organisation that ensures that all of the factories that cable is being produced in is fit for purpose, compliant to a quality that would be expected within the UK market. Absolutely. Basic is a brilliant example. And it wasn't basic. And I just said, I'm not putting that in. And I gave him a couple of manufacturers and said, this is the manufacturers that I would prefer that you used. And he walked away and he was like, and yeah, did he look at me as if to say, what? How that? Really?
You're looking for it in cameras.
And it's difficult because I get it, because most people sat at home, they look at you tend to look at all the glam stuff. You tend to look and say, well, does that look pretty? Does that look nice? What's my kitchen worktop going to like? How good's my lighting? Lighting's a brilliant one. How pretty is my lighting going to be? But actually, just when your contractor or your installer comes along and says, well, actually, these are the products I'm using and it's this kind of level of pricing because of this, this and this. Isn't it amazing that some people do still go, well, yeah, but can we not cut the cost down? Don't cut the cost down, because it's those kind of items that somebody might come along and say, well, actually, you can have that or you can have that, and one is not as good a quality as the other. And then there's other people that just point back. My electrician would just say, no, He doesn't do work. He will only use the products that he associates himself with the manufacturers that he wants to work with. He will not work with anybody else. But not everybody is the same.
Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, 100%. And again, I think, like you say, because of the big incident there that you're referring to, people are a lot more careful. They're checking things more. They're checking appliances.
Do you find that?
Yeah, we find that with end users. Yeah, they're a lot, they're asking. And again, do I find that? Yes, I do 200%, which is why I'm doing this podcast. Because what I want to do to our customers is highlight the businesses we work with, their values, their products. It's not about coming on and telling people how good a Gland is. It's about coming on and showing people how good a business is. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this podcast, really, so people can see our supply chain, our traceability, the fact that we care about the products that we fit, the fact that we care about the suppliers that we're working with, and we're very carefully selecting them for products in their building so they can see they share the same values as us. So that is why we're doing the podcast, in case anybody was wondering. But yeah, that's why. Yeah. Awesome. Before we go, what I actually want to know, which is a really serious question, I want to know the top 3 pranks you and your business partner have played on each other, because I honestly, right, I've heard some absolute I've heard some corkers, right? When we've been out here having a bit of chat today, I've heard stuff and I'm thinking, no way, that cannot be serious.
Where you go on holiday and you come back and your house is for sale.
You
order a dog kennel for your dog, and a shed arrives on your drive. There's numerous things that have gone on.
Did I hear one? Did somebody tell me before? Did one of you phone up and cancel others' holiday?
Yeah, that was another one, and you actually literally putting your bags on the carousel for them to be taken away, and over the loudspeaker is Mr. Hans in the airport. Could you please report to reception? You think, oh, here we go again. So yeah, there's been many, and there's been some I can't mention, but
yeah, I can well imagine.
Yeah,
I've been spending the day with you. I can well imagine.
We're going back to the very early days, and days that you guys won't remember, I'm sure, but when the mobile phones weren't mobile, they were just car phones.
Yeah.
And Gary, my business partner, has always had, throughout our sort of friendship and being in business together, he's always had the better car than me for whatever reason. He's always managed to stitch me up one way or another. So he had this car that he loved, and it was a Honda. I think it was a Honda Accord. I think it was. Can't remember. Gary, we listened to this and think, no, it was a different car. But nevertheless, we stuck some stones in the hubcaps, and on this one day we were trying to get hold of Gary. We couldn't get hold of him because obviously car phone, you can't take it out. Ringing, I said no, I couldn't get an answer. So I rang home, and his wife answered the phone. I said, Gary there? She said, no, you won't be able to get him either. He's out in a hired car. I said, what's he doing in a hired car? She said, he's had terrible noise coming from the wheels, he said. And she said, he's taken it into the garage to get it looked at. And of course, the garage took the wheel hubs off and found the stones in there. And he never, to this day, has mentioned the fact that they found stones in his hubcap because he just wouldn't.
Well, that bit. Now he's told everyone on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very. But, yeah, work hard, play hard. And that's what it's always been about. And throughout the every day we'd ring each other of a morning, ring each other of an evening, just to sort of reporting to each other.
And it's good because I had a little bit of taste of almost having a business partner not so long back, and didn't really work for me. I wasn't really one for business partners, but it's still great that 34 years later, and I'm sure you have your days, weeks, months, moments where you
to be honest with you, hand on heart, and on hand on heart, I go back 20, 22, 23 years ago. You probably put me right on that. But we had one fallout, and that was, and one afternoon, we sort of parted company and went away. And next day we come back as if nothing had happened, and we just got on with it. So yeah, it's been brilliant.
And that's amazing after 34 years.
Tell me
you've
about
got that kind of relationship.
Tell me about it.
That is unheard of.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's like even with my miss at home, to be fair, we have a barney now and again, but it's literally next day it's just forgotten about.
Yeah,
I'm not really one for holding grudge. Well, depends who it is. Depends who it is. You even Cam's laughing real loud. Yeah, no. But if I still want them involved, otherwise I just cut straight out. But yeah, 34 years.
Yeah. And it must have been difficult for Judy coming in from corporate to come into the business. And you must have thought in your first week, what the hell have I joined?
Oh, my goodness, no. I didn't think that. They're absolutely mental. Crazy. But just on that note, actually, just as you're talking about Gary Ray, who's not here, Gary is still very much active in the SWA organisation, be it that it's taken a massive step back and a well-earned step back. But he still works on some internal projects for the business, especially post acquisition by Shoal. So he's helping Shoal in terms of how SWA is going to work in the future. Of course, Brian, we've got more or less full time. Do you work 5 days a week? I'm not sure if he does work 5 days a week.
And even if he doesn't, he deserves not to.
Oh no, we need to work him and work him and work him and work him.
He should be sat on the beach somewhere.
But yeah, Gary, they have been absolutely fantastic, and I'm still very much working closely with Brian on a daily basis. And yeah, it's great.
Brian's living the dream. He's built his business. He sold it, and now he gets to do all the fun stuff and invent new products, and just spend his day inventing new products.
Yeah, it's great to get back. I'm longing for the day to get back out and get really down to the nitty gritty with the customers, because that's what I enjoy doing as well.
Yeah, and difficult for all like COVID and all that.
Yeah, it's been really, but yeah,
Teams call. Yeah. I don't want another bloody Teams call.
No, God no. So yeah, it's great. Can't wait to get these new products out into the market and meet the customers. Brilliant.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm going to call it there. But that has been an absolute scream. I very much enjoyed it. I hope you guys have too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And we're going to go have a look at some other bits now and have another few look around the factory. But thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your great products.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you for the big, massive box of samples you've left outside for me to take home with me. Great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.